Our MC this morning, Ross Fadner. Ross is one of our lead programmers at MediaPost. He's been with us for, about 10 years, I think, maybe more. Maybe a lifetime, we don't know. He's programmed many of events for us, our video shows, content marketing shows, and as well, he's a resident expert on the business and sport of soccer. Specifically, he's been writing and programming events for Soccer America, as well as MediaPost. And these are events that are focused on marketing soccer. So if you have questions about that, grab him. He's an expert on all areas, and quite a player too as well. I've seen him. And he's just all around good guy. So he's going to take us through the next 3 days. A big round of applause for Ross Fadner. Bring it on home.
I'm humbled by that introduction. Thank you, John. So, welcome everyone. Good morning. Welcome to MediaPost Cross-Channel Marketing Insider Summit. You'll hear a fair bit this next 3 days about how this show is about integration, coherence across channels, and establishing accountability for both the pieces and the whole of a marketing campaign. Easy, right? Well, there's challenges. There's the audience attention may be fragmented, a brand strategy cannot be, and that's the reality facing marketing decision makers today. And there's other challenges too. For example, the data deluge, which we're going to talk about today. It's real and it's not letting up. CMOs are charged with interpreting and acting on the relentless evolving flood of data coming at their businesses. Today, we're going to open the conference by asking brand managers to share their successes and failures. After that, we'll dive into the cross-channel journey of a piece of creative, asking how can marketers honor platform and contextual differences while staying on message? Do you have to adjust KPIs for every channel? Throughout the course of the 3-day show, we'll also examine the strengths and weaknesses of different channels, beginning with the fine example of the use of video and second screens from the OMO award-winning campaign Life Comes Next from John Hancock Financial. On day 2, we opened with another great case study from Keynoter Pep Boys, which leveraged location-based marketing and social media platforms, particularly Instagram, to build its customer audience and drive sales. Next, we move on to a panel about email and mobile, which have especially important synergies when it comes to e-commerce. Our final keynote that day showcases how influencer marketing programs can support national and cross-channel efforts for content marketing. That'll be White Wave Foods' Lori Ulanoff will walk us through those steps. After that, we ask brands how they can manage their so-called internal stack. That is the chain of departments contributing to actionable data and insights that facilitate cross-channel. Are you stuck chasing little boosts that miss the big picture? Well, we'll talk about it. Finally, day 3, we look at the inherent tensions surrounding attribution. Is it time to start thinking about the attribution differently? Anyways, folks, this is just a brief overview of what we're going to cover the next 3 days, but we're going to open today with an interview. We've invited cross-channel marketing veteran Charity Webb to discuss the transition from programmatic software to running the display team at specialty retailer Cabela's, for which she now manages an in-house data analytics and attribution management system. So what's it like moving from a technology and services vendor to a brand that does everything in-house? Well, we're about to find out. Please join me in welcoming Charity.
MediaPost conference, so I am excited.
All right, round of applause. So welcome. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you coming out. So before we dive into what you're doing now at Cabela's, just tell us a little bit about what where you've been and what you've learned about cross-channel marketing on the agency and vendor side.
Yeah, so coming from the agency and vendor side, particularly full service agency and then digital marketing agencies as well as ad tech, really kind of understanding objectively what advertisers are trying to do and trying to implement that within the digital realm and try to marry that offline. Great experiences there. You gain expertise on that side. And then I had way too many kids and I was like, I can't do this lifestyle anymore. So trying to jump over to the advertiser brand side. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience in the first 3 months and really trying to tone down my drive to want to jump in and do. You have to work around a lot of what I like to call the corporate red tape. So trying to figure out that world. But coming from the agency side, just very working on the in-depth expertise of digital marketing has been very beneficial in the first 3 months.
Right. So you've only been there 3 months. That's not that long,
No.
right? And your title is display manager.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the brand itself and about what your specific responsibilities are vis-a-vis the brand?
Yeah, so anyone who's here who knows Cabela's, you're probably very passionate about it. I should have came here in camo and put a duck blind on stage here. I would have loved to do that. This is the first time that I've actually wore like real work attire in 3 months. So Cabela's is a very passionate brand, and that's what drew me to it. People, they don't just work there, they live there. My first 3 months, I've gone on 2 hunting trips. So it's something that you live and you breathe. And that's the type of customer that we engage with as well. People live and breathe the brand. And so that's what, bringing that passionate full circle into my life, into the people who we work with's lives and our customers' lives. So really my role there, coming from the agency side, I've had a lot of opportunities to work in attribution, and we have channel owners. So about 3 years ago, the Cabela's brand decided to open an innovation office, a digital innovation office in the foothills of Denver. And so that's where I am located, and we have channel owners focus on email, focus on affiliate, focus on digital media, which is what I'm in charge of. And we really are building out in-house and kind of we're the within Cabela's. And so a lot of challenges there because you're working with a lot of legal red tape. You're working with a lot of, if I want to do something, I need to make sure I speak to the 20 people that it affects before I do it. So instead of on the agency side where you are strategizing, you have tasks in front of you and you just go and do, working within that realm. So managing a team, building out a team on the digital media side, and trying to figure out how we integrate cross-channelly is part of my challenge as they brought me in to do.
Right, so there's like massive differences between doing things in-house and the prior worlds that you were in. So from your prior jobs, like what did you learn about what agencies and vendors do well relative, and what's different, and what don't they do well?
Yeah. So on the agency side, you're objective, right? You try to take a lot of the feeling out of it, and you have a goal in front of you. You need to achieve that goal because you need to maintain that business, right? And so you are looking at it to drive sales. You are looking at it to drive value for a customer, for that brand. Vendor side, same thing. You are objective. You have an expertise, which is great. I would say being in-house now and understanding the pitch given to our teams all the time, the negatives are thinking. A lot of vendors don't come at it from a long-term relationship standpoint. They come at it from a, how do I get in now? How do I make more money now? And so understanding what I'm trying to preach internally is we need to test, you need to prove yourself, and then we can talk long-term relationship. So really vendors coming in, if you're a vendor, that's not a good thing to be. You want to be a partner, and so come at it from a standpoint of, is this long-term? What kind of value you're going to drive for our business, and then expanding that partnership.
So now to Cabela's with its its in-house structure. What do you think that the brand does well with its current structure? Its sort of all-encompassing structure. What does it do well, and where could it improve?
The brand is really good on the analytics and data side. And I know I don't want to touch too much on it because I know we'll talk about it on Saturday, but from an attribution perspective, that is the main reason why I came to Cabela's. We do that very well. Things that we don't do very well is more in the real time, like how do we make that actionable? How do we get the data more frequent to make real-time decisions that affect return on investment, that affect our bottom line sales?
And then by bringing you on board with your history on the other side of the fence, what is it that you think the brand wanted to achieve by bringing you on board specifically?
So I really don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. At the end of the day, we talk about the big green roof at Cabela's. So anyone who knows our stores, you got the big green roof. Everyone who funnels up under that big green roof how do we perform? What are we doing? We do have channel owners, and people, you could probably imagine the battles that happen internally. If you're very passionate about a channel and you're fighting for your channel and you own that channel, you own the budget associated with that channel. But guess what? At the end of the day, our bonuses aren't tied to what we do. Our bonuses are tied to our success at the big green roof level. So really trying to bring the agnostic and the meshing of those channels and understanding that it doesn't matter who wins, just as Nick said. It doesn't matter the touch point. It matters at the end of the day, the sale and how we interact with that customer, and are we providing value to them.
So you mentioned that there's like some competition between the various marketing departments, or it's I don't know. Did you say that? You sort of said that.
Oh, it's trying to,
kind of,
you want to do the best that you can do for your channel, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And so we talk about the big green roof, and Cabela's pushes towards the big green roof in one means of bonus structure. If we all don't win, nobody wins.
Right.
And so if we don't hit a certain goal, nobody gets a bonus. So they try to pay it forward in that respect to make sure it's not just about you. It's about everyone as a whole.
And who manages that sort of like morale structure?
We all do. We all do. We actually have a great team. We work together very well. We meet daily. We go through the battles. We have very good, open and honest discussions. We have great team building. But at the end of the day, because we have great relationships with each other, we're able to have the hard conversations to work through some of the challenges that we do have.
Okay, right. Great. So let's talk a little bit about data and data and analytics. So who controls and manages the data and analytics that are collected by the brands?
Yeah, so we have a data sciences team and an analytics team, and they are really the hub to everything that we do. Our data sciences team, they built the attribution model. So where we're really good at in the attribution sense, we've kind of lacked at the forefront in real time. So it was very hard for someone like me who's looking at data every single day, and I need to wait a little bit to look at that data. So very good from an attribution sense, fractional attribution model, but need to work on the real-time piece.
And it's shared, right, across the departments?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Great. So how does an in-house system effectively deploy a cross-channel campaign? And what I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if different departments are run by different managers, how are things like reach and frequency accounted for?
Those are the problems we're trying to solve today, because someone like me coming in and seeing things from a cross-channel analytics perspective before, we don't have the real-time piece. We need to wait a month to get a report from that's not actionable. So right now, we're working on trying to implement standard ad server. So where we were, like I said, we were very ahead of the game from an attribution sense. We're very behind the game from a real-time, how do we make this work? So Cabela's has never looked at data in the sense of last touch, which is awesome. They've always looked at it in fractional attribution, but you do need a partner like DoubleClick Campaign Manager to be able to have real-time insights to make decisions on the fly, to say, hey, display team, you guys just hit someone with 100 banner ads. You are taking away from what every other channel is doing here. We can't make those decisions unless we have the platform and the software to be able to do it in the real time. So those are things we are working on now. We actually, as funny as it sounds, we just implemented DCM about 2 months ago. And just some of the gains that all the channels have seen in those 2 months is huge from a real-time perspective. And first attribution reporting comes out, we get it monthly. Everything is moving in the right direction. So we're starting to make gains there.
Okay, and what other tech vendors do you work with?
Yeah, I mean, every individual channel has certain partners that they work with, right? So social works with Sprout. You have Bright Edge for SEO, things of that nature. Display, we work with a handful of tech companies. But at the end of the day, what is going to streamline us in real time right now is DCM. So I would say that is probably, from a cross-channel perspective, where we're moving more towards in the real time.
So given that you do work with other outside tech vendors, I'm just wondering sort of what Is it more difficult, in your opinion, to work with various tech vendors when everything is kind of so centralized under one umbrella? Or
It is, and it plays towards exactly what you were talking about before, channel owners, right? So we're centralized, but we also are fragmented in a sense where we have to have a lot of conversation internally. So things just take a little bit longer to execute. They take a little bit longer. It takes longer to have those conversations because you may not, one thing that's a priority to you may not be a priority to another channel owner. So, yes, a little bit more difficult.
And then what about, like, say, online and offline? I mean, those are two totally different kinds of worlds.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, under the current structure, I mean, what are the challenges there for you?
That's actually something I think we do really well. Like I said, Cabela's starting out in the catalog business, they understood attribution. They understood once you throw in digital, we need to be able to provide fractional attribution model to see how we're really doing as a holistic company. So we've done that very well. We have tie-ins. Really, 50% of conversions that happen in digital media are actually in retail. So if we weren't looking at it from an attribution sense, there would not be a digital media department. So we've done really well with the offline to online with our internal model. Again, though, it's making that more in real time so we can make quick, actionable decisions that benefit the brand.
And is it part of your responsibility to sort of bring them there to the more real time?
Yes. So not only making our attribution model more real time and letting the data science scientists who built this model really take the glory for it because they did an amazing job, but pushing them to show priority, we need this quick, we need this fast, we need this on, if I would love to have it every day. We actually have the means to make this an everyday piece. If we don't have that, we need something else. We need something else to connect the dots, and that would be a DCM. DCM, we would not look at in a last touch model. We would look at it from path to conversion. And again, in my opinion, DCM gives you data. It gives you facts. We still need people to show you how those facts work together and give you actionable insight based off how channels are playing together.
And that's partly your responsibility.
Yes.
And you have a team that you work with that helps.
Yes. So part of my responsibility is exactly that. Everybody is on board. It's just the red tape you have to jump through to show the value of that. Cabela's knows they have something great in attribution, but understanding this isn't catalog, this is digital. We need to be able to look at data quickly every day, and we need to be able to make decisions every day.
So having been there now for 3 months, which isn't very long, what are your sort of personal goals for this job, and short term and long term, and how are they sort of similar or different from what the company has set out for you?
Yep. So number one goal is making sure that we get data more in real time.
Yep.
That's action-based. Whether that's working with our data sciences team and showing them the importance of we actually use this is important, or the integrations with DCM that we have. So that's number one priority. Our number two priority is really return on investment. What partners are we going to be leveraging? How are we going to be leveraging? What volume? So really kind of honing that in this year. And then from a personal goal perspective, I come from the agency side. This is a different world. We're talking merchandising. I mean, it is a world that's so expansive, and so personally, I just want to understand holistically what Cabela's does. Every day I go in, I learn something new that has nothing to do with my channel or even our office. So really making sure, like I said, we're in the Foothills office in Denver, but main corporate is in Sidney, Nebraska. So making sure I spend a lot of time up there and understanding how the business has progressed and where Sidney, Nebraska is currently at. That way we can make sure we're complementing or leading.
Right, and going on hunting trips, right?
Yes. 2 ducks,
Cool.
5
Nice.
geese, my first time out. But I won't eat them. I don't know. I just have a thing about it. So
That's great, though. Hey, it's Learning the brand, very, very important,
Yeah.
right? So, well, I guess, for some of the other brands that are here today, I just wonder, if you have any advice for them. Because I know at least a couple of the brands that will be speaking later also do things in-house generally.
Yep.
So I don't know if you have any advice you'd like to throw out there for them.
I think the biggest piece is remaining agnostic. It doesn't matter who wins at the end of the day. If you are providing value holistically, that's all that, at the end of the day, anybody really needs and wants from the brand side. So making sure whatever challenges you run into, level setting and making sure you're coming at it from a good place. I think that is beneficial to a brand in general. It doesn't matter who wins, it's how you win and how the lifetime value you're giving to a customer, and reining them in and making sure that they feel appreciated. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. Mm-hmm. It just matters the outcome of that.
Great. Well, thank you, Charity. I'd like to open up questions to the audience if anyone has any. Too early? None for Charity?
Here we go. We got one here.
There's one over there.
Right back here. Actually, before you ask a question, as we go forward through the next couple of days, please state your name and the company you're from before you ask your question. Go ahead. Hold on. Are you? Hold on. He's got you there, I think. All right, go ahead.
Me,
We're trying.
Mamamoo. There we go. Hi, Melinda Krieger from Salesforce. Love what you're saying, and I'm wondering how much upper management had to do with creating sort of this very shared environment that you're creating. Did that come from the top down? Did you build it from the bottom up? And how is that different from other places that you've worked?
Great question. So basically, our VP that oversees digital, he oversees call center, and a handful of other things. He moved to Denver and he built this office from the ground up. So he was very instrumental in that. He is now back in Sidney, Nebraska, and so the woman, Andrea Grant, who runs our office, who is awesome, she is kind of our person. So she makes sure she removes any roadblocks that the managers of each channel have, and not just within the office, but within Sidney, because those are challenges we have as well. We have 2 completely separate offices, and so making sure we're all in line. Great question. It's absolutely upper management. They're the big proponent. One piece that we have that is really vital, attribution. We built that in-house. So who's to say that is the gold mark? We don't know, right? So we've leveraged HRG to help us with media mix modeling, and that's one piece where managers can't get upset if you don't get the dollars that you think you deserve. We have an outside third party that's verifying what we're seeing internally.
Oh, I'm Jane Clark from CIM, Coalition for Innovative Media Measurement. And I just had a question. I'm a customer of Cabela's, but I'm not a hunter at all.
Yeah.
And so, I was wondering about segmentation and how you can segment your customers. I'm just like an outdoors person and go by the stores and go in and buy a lot of the outdoor stuff. But do you look at your customers in different segments like that?
So Cabela's, over the years, has invested in a lot of different things. Retail, we own all of our retail stores. We have a bank. So really this year, our main focus is exactly that. We have 4 pillars: hunt, fish, camp, shoot. And within those 4 pillars, all right, did I answer that? I'll stop then. Yeah, I'm more so of a fisherwoman myself. Hunting, I'll do it with the team, but yeah. Great.
I got you here. Hold on. Back.
Hey, I'm Jean-Michel with Book Renter. Can you tell us more about what you do in display and, like your strategy behind, the acquisition, the technology you're using? And we were talking about segmentation. That's also pretty key.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when I came in, Cabela's really was working with one main partner in display. And so from the agency side where I come from, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're missing out on this big world. A lot of our dollars invested in industry marketing. So really forgetting about new customer acquisition, which is you're going to be a dead business in 4 years if you're not acquiring valuable new customers. So one partner, the main partner that Cabela's was using was Conversant, and they direct tie-in to our data warehouse. So we're passing back and forth anonymized data. So really a very full encompassing remarketing program, a lot of dollars invested there that talk to those 4 pillars, but also talk to every single category that we have, whether it be power sports, hunting equipment, clothing, footwear, things of that nature. One thing you know, if any of you guys know Conversant, they operate within the exchanges, and so our biggest selling point is ammo and guns, right? You can't sell that in the exchanges. That is completely blocked. So we have invested a lot of time and effort the past 3 months trying to find third-party partners that have owned and operated property where we can sell guns and ammo or push promotions for that. So those third-party partners being a Carbon Media, a Vertical Scope, Second Media, so on and so forth.
Great. I guess just my last question is how old is the system built by your VP? Is it, and how many years have you been using it?
So the attribution model has been in place for probably the past 7 years, but they are always refining it based off how the industry moves. So it did not account for digital until really probably 5-6 years ago. But we actually just had meetings this week. It's one point of contention is when display pumps in data into the data warehouse, it's based off one price. It's based off one CPM. But our CPMs are very different across partner, across tactic, across medium. So making sure that those things are accounted for. So they're always having to iterate, of course.
Right. And I guess hiring like an agency or something, I mean, the learning curve for them would be tremendous. So I guess it doesn't quite make sense.
Yes.
Right on. Well,
Ross,
that's it for
I have
me.
a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Real quick. I live in Austin, Texas, so I've been to your store there. You ever thought about charging admission for people?
It is a destination store.
It's literally like the Science and Natural History Museum. It's unbelievable. Think about that. Just throw it out there. Just think about that. A little charge admission.
How much?
A couple bucks. And we've taken our kids there just for fun. Like, hey, let's go look at the fish.
Yep. No, we were talking about that last night. It is a destination experience. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, Charity, thank you very much.
Yep, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Quick announcement. So this afternoon we'll have activities for all of us to enjoy, and we're playing golf today here at the resort.
The Coalition for Innovative Media Measurement, or CIM, where she oversees strategy and day-to-day operations for the TV and cross-platform industry organization. Please welcome Jane and the rest of the panel.
We've actually added a fourth that we moved from one of the later panels, so it's a little different than what's in your program. So, data everywhere. Everyone who's here, I'm sure, doesn't need to be told about the challenges of dealing with all of the increasing amounts of data that are coming in across all the different departments, all the different marketing channels. How do you put it all together? So, CMOs have to not only pull this all together, but figure out how to use it, how to make sense of it. So what we've got here are a couple of marketers. We have someone from an agency, and we have someone from a data platform, from Rocket Fuel. So I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into some questions. So say a little bit about what you do as well, your name, your company, and kind of what you do there.
Sure. I'm Scott Patton. I am the Director of Strategy at a company called Lane Terralever. We're right down the street here in Phoenix. So we're a full-service integrated advertising and marketing agency, and I'm responsible for a lot of the upfront strategy and planning for our clients, as well as being involved on an ongoing basis to make sure that we're living up to our promises and keeping an eye on performance.
I'm Sharon Mostyn. I'm from RoamRight. We're a travel insurance company. We do trip cancellation and travel medical insurance. And I'm responsible for everything except for pay-per-click today.
My name is Ian Daly. I'm from Rocket Fuel on the product team. So we're a programmatic marketing platform. But I think the thing that's most interesting to you guys is more on the data management side. So data management platform that can bring in all of the marketers' first-party online data, be that CRM, be that all the data streaming in from the website, so you can do customer segmentation, you can do real-time activation of your mobile users, activate that cross-channel through either paid display media, through syndication out to email and other partners out in the ecosystem.
I'm Coy Robison. I'm the Director of Digital Marketing at Blendtech, Blenders, where I oversee all the digital things, including our famous Will It Blend YouTube series. Yeah, that's me.
If you haven't seen that, it's very fun. All these weird things that you can blend in a blender. But you guys have probably already seen it. Okay, so we're going to start with our two marketers, with Coy and with Sharon, and talk a little bit about how you deal with all the different streams of data that are in your company. Kind of what are the different streams? Are you building an in-house platform? Do you have some outside vendors? Just walk us through a little bit of the data strategy for each of your companies.
Sure. So at Blendtech, we have our digital part of the business is a much smaller segment of our business. So we have our retail and our commercial parts of the business. And so for Blendtech, mashing all of that data up has been a challenge, and it's really something that we've only really got serious about in the last several years. We've been around for 25 years, but it's only been in the last few that we've got real serious about that. So. And then we have two cells, right? We have our sell in and our sell through. So trying to get all of that pulled together has been a pretty big challenge. We've been building our own in-house systems to do that, but managing that, and then you add on top of that all of the digital advertising and the things like that, the data that we do have, but then getting that to mix with some of the offline things that we have has been a real challenge. But our goal has been in the last couple of years to bring all of that together through a few of the different systems that we use. Microsoft has been the main platform that we've used to bring all of our systems together.
So at RoamRight, we have kind of two aspects to the business. There's an online e-commerce direct-to-consumer portion, where obviously we get a lot from Google Analytics, a lot from our online marketing initiatives, but we also have a B2B side. So RoamRight sells through travel agents, tour operators, and other companies that would sell travel insurance on our behalf. In addition to having online data for that aspect, also have to do a lot of offline data because there are events and things like that. Like Coy's company, we also developed an in-house strategy to mash all of that data together.
But just before we go to the other companies, talk a little bit more about sort of how you're piecing all those, pieces together. How are you linking? Are there any particular innovations or vendors or things that have worked well for you?
Yeah, sure. So we, like I said, we use Microsoft AX and CRM. That's what we're using to bring all of those, all of our production systems, all of our CRM, our lead tracking, all of those kind of things. So we're using Microsoft to do that. Then on the front end, we're using Power BI to bring all those and create all of our executive dashboards. So Microsoft has been a great partner for us to bring all of that together on the back end, providing the cloud storage and all of those systems. It's a work in progress. So even though we're much further than we were 2 years ago, we still have a lot of pieces to bring together. Like I said, we're a large enough organization that we're trying to implement this. We're in a sense trying to change the engine going 60 miles an hour down the freeway, right? So it's a slow moving process, but like I said, Microsoft has been our biggest partner in developing that particularly. And those needs are being driven by we have a in-house steering committee driven primarily by our business intelligence team, but also with other key members of the company driving how that information is coming together, what key points need to be mixed together, and how do we do that. So it's not siloed from any one part of the company. We have a team that drives those decisions.
And because our situation is kind of unique with having both the B2B and the B2C, and because there are not a lot of companies that are doing travel insurance e-commerce, we developed an in-house solution that is customized and really takes both the CRM as well as the BI information and puts it all together. There are lots of SQL Server and SQL calls that our development team puts together, and I just put the requirements together.
Okay, well, let's move to some of the other companies up here. So, Scott, why don't you talk a little bit more, kind of from an agency perspective about helping a lot of your clients with their data strategy and sort of the different kinds of strategies that you see across a range of clients.
Sure. So I have the benefit of working for 10 to 20 different companies, and those companies, I guess what you would call their data strategy can range from something more sophisticated and integrated to, Gary's got a spreadsheet and he updates it and shows us the numbers, once a month. So I've kind of seen a lot of the different tools and approaches and how different companies can take that on. I think where I've seen the biggest challenge and probably the most success is when companies recognize the complexity of what they're trying to immediately simplify and say, okay, we just need to bubble this up to the 4 things that matter. Our leadership team has 4 things we're focusing on this year, so that's what we're all going to look at. And we've seen a lot more success when starting or when making changes to the way that data is implemented in a company, if you're looking at all the levels of it and recognizing that it's very complex, and figuring out what are the right things to track and capture and analyze at each different level, and then make sure that all of those are laddering up to the overarching goals. There's really no one tool that I've seen that really solves the problem. I think there's some really great tools and sets of tools that a lot of our clients have used that are more effective than others. But usually where the difference between what I would call a successful program and one that's not as successful is in the commitment to implementing that. A lot of times I hear our clients say, we don't have this right now, but we're getting this tool, and then everything's going to be fine, and it's going to be really, really easy, and everything will be wonderful. And then you find that a lot of times when you start to implement a tool or a process like that, it ends up being a lot more work. And for companies that haven't committed to the work that goes into that, and continuously building upon it and optimizing it, and putting the hours and resources behind what you've committed to, then it can be harder to see success with that.
Well, great. And Ian, talk a little bit more from a platform sort of point of view. So how are you working with your clients and integrating your data into their data, and how are you putting it all together?
Sure. I think, excuse me, generically from a data management platform perspective, I think most marketers are still kind of asking the questions like, is this something that I need? What are really the benefits at this point? And I think when they start dealing with the complexity, when they start recognizing how big of a challenge it is, they realize that there's so much more that can be achieved, where instead of taking a coarse look or sort of kind of big generic segments and that type of thing, we can really dive into the details and begin having those one-on-one conversations with customers online. So I think the main use cases that our customers tend to use are really as a central hub to take these different systems, be them Microsoft systems or systems that might be used on a per channel basis, and then bring them all together to speak one unified language. Now, that tends to be a online execution language, so it's cookies or mobile IDs or something like that, or a unified ID that can talk to all those systems. And then really, what do you do with that? So now you have a central place to house all that data, so you can, on a first-party basis, or excuse me, as a marketer, you can dive in, start creating your own segments, start saying, you know, people, if I take Cabela's for an example, this person is browsing these types of products. Well, that means that they're in this segment. What do I do? Do I send them a specific email if they're a returning customer and I know their email address? Do I wait and then activate them with a text message later on? Do I immediately start hammering them with online advertising or what have you? But it allows advertisers and marketers to be a lot smarter. And then finally, I think the really, really interesting use case for people who have kind of a multi-channel attribution problem is to, and I know you want to talk about that a little bit more later, but is to tie that offline activity to that online experience and to really understand what's working and what's not working. And I would echo, by the way, your sentiment about bringing all the people together. It's not simple to just execute. You have several stakeholders in that, and to do it well is a slow process where everybody really defines the business objective before moving forward and can really move forward as a coherent team in execution. So.
Yeah, we'll also have time when we get to the end here for you guys to ask some questions. So start thinking of things that you'd like to ask these guys. But I wanted to see if there's any sort of examples, almost like case studies of where you've been able to pull together the data and it's done something that you couldn't do before. I mean, if you can just kind of bring this to life with any examples that any of you can think of across any of your, either within your companies or across your clients.
I'll use an example. As I mentioned, DMPs, they've been around for a while, and I think still most advertisers and marketers are still getting around to considering them. But we've had some customers that have been using us for years. One of them is a major financial services company, and I think they've seen tremendous benefits in the realm of a use case around site optimization. So you can start segmenting your customers based on even prospects. Maybe you're not sure who they are, but you can see them log online. Okay, I'm checking out a specific credit card offer. Well, the next time they land on your website, it's a completely different experience because you've segmented that prospect into a group. And then when they land on the homepage, it's not the generic whatever financial service X homepage. It's a very specific homepage based on their demonstrated interest. And they see huge lifts in conversion rates by speaking on that one-on-one basis. I mean, they've segmented them, but it's so much different than, okay, choose your own adventure, credit cards, what offer X, checking account, whatever. And that's one way, simple way that using site optimization or kind of pushing those people through the funnel.
Like creative optimization.
It is
content
creative
optimization.
Yeah, on your own first-party
cool.
site, on your own media, not even on your paid media.
Anyone else? Any other?
Yeah, I have one example of a client that we have where it's a bit of a unique challenge. So this is it's an ingredient brand, meaning that they make the technology that goes into other products for outdoor sports. So it's garments, footwear, and accessories. And the challenge that they have is that the main metric that they're trying to drive is brand insistence. So if you're going to go buy, let's say, a jacket, you probably care about it being waterproof and it being North Face or Columbia or whatever brand that may be, but you aren't necessarily thinking about the technology inside it. So the challenge that we have is that we're trying to drive consumer-facing marketing and change the perception of this technology ingredient that people may or may not be aware of or may or may not care about, and then send them off to either a retail location or an online retailer with their perception having been changed to go in and decide that they need this technology as opposed to just a pretty red jacket, right? So the main way that we've used data to understand that customer journey better is building a cross-channel plan around how are we driving people into an e-tail location or a retailer, knowing that we're basically 2 steps removed from that sale and don't get a lot of the data back from retailers. So it's been a process of using a lot of the same tactics that you mentioned, where we're profiling consumers based on where they came from, what they do on our web properties, how they engage with social media, and then customizing all of those things, including email, and trying to re-engage them over this longer process so that we can educate and engage them at a deeper level that a lot of times takes 5, 6, 7 interactions, and then being able to track where they go after that, and then using some of the lagging indicators to inform kind of the full circle of which of these segments are performing best, and how best can we educate and change their perception before we send them off.
Go ahead, you have examples?
I think at RoamRight, we look at, especially on the B2C side, information like where people are coming from, where they are in the funnel, because unless you are actively researching or taking a trip, you don't need travel insurance. But the awareness factor, as we were talking about last night, the awareness is not really out there. Less than 1/3 of all travelers use travel insurance, but the people that do are kind of really engaged with the travel marketplace. And so if they're actively searching on PPC or organic search for travel insurance or travel insurance companies or travel insurance reviews, you know that you're really far down in the funnel. And the likelihood for conversion is substantially greater than somebody who's searching for something a little bit, more on the upper end. We take that information, and if they don't convert, then reach out to them through retargeting, through email marketing, all of those different channels. And there's a specific way that we have to go about it, whether it's a quote email follow-up type thing if they've progressed that far into the process, or whether it's a little bit more generic and more about our blog is really travel related and doesn't really hit that travel insurance hard, and so sending out just kind of a newsletter with blog articles on travel, and that really is focused on kind of how they came into our site and how we've seen them react to the conversion process.
Anything you want to say, Cora? You want to add anything?
No,
No, okay.
that's great stuff.
All good examples. I'm also kind of wondering, we didn't really talk about this in advance, but when Charity from Cabela's was talking about real time and having the data, a lot of times these different data streams come in different time frames. So if maybe you could just address a little bit of the challenges of how you link up data when you're getting the data in different periodicities. Anybody?
Real-time data for me is like a dream. A lot of our clients, there's some of the data that we have in real time, and then there are studies that are done twice a year that are some of the key metrics that we're tracking. So a lot of it for us is trying to map that whole ecosystem together and understand what is appropriate at a quarterly or yearly interval, and how do we ladder everything else up to that so that we're not getting an annual study back and then meeting on it a month later with all the stakeholders and then finally doing something about it another 2 months later. So for us, it's kind of establishing that hierarchy of business goals or metrics, marketing metrics, and then channel metrics, and trying to make the channel metrics as close to real time as possible, but then always understanding how does this tie into the results that we're going to see from that next, quarterly awareness or, whatever those kind of lagging indicators that we have are. So it's, again, I mentioned it earlier, it's recognizing complexity and understanding, just because we're tracking something or trying to build profiles around a certain data point, we need to understand, how is that being used in the long term to move this quarterly or yearly metric.
At Rocket Fuel, one of the things we say all the time is about marketing in the moment. And the key kind of takeaway there is that any individual, if we go to even a one-on-one marketing, recognizing this individual consumer, I'm on the stage right now, I'm going to go back, I've got a different mindset. When I walk out the door, I'm in a different mindset. Every moment in the day, I'm not the same person twice. We talked about, what was it, Heraclitus. So, real-time data is critical to that. I mean, if you're not operating on real-time data, you're treating that person as the same person, no matter what context or what's going on. By the time you get that online data in, you go, oh my God, this person's a hot prospect. 2 days later, and if that's not really activating real time, obviously, but that's not marketing in the moment. And so the approach that we take to building products, and I'm not trying to make this a Rocket Fuel thing, but it's about how can we activate in real time that did you do something within the mobile app, and then the next minute jump to your computer. What decision can we make that in that moment, because based on your demonstrated activity in the app, if it's putting a specific item in your cart, or if it's navigating a certain page or what have you. So when you market in the moment, the data has to be real time, and oftentimes that data is just based on your real time campaigns. If you've got a campaign going on and you get a remarketing pixel, okay, great, we can activate that in real time, and we're all used to that. But I think there's a lot of tentacles out into the other things that we're doing around marketing. If it's a trigger that sends out an email immediately, what have you. What was that? The weather example for Redfin. So that's real-time marketing.
Great. Yeah, I like those.
And for us, I really think that we look at the real time in a couple different ways. So we leverage our social media channels heavily to get to market real time. And what I mean by that is our social media channels. We have a lot of fun with, and we get a lot of customer engagement, and so by tracking all of those things that are happening on social media, we can find customer issues pretty quickly. They're coming to us, but they're also talking about them online. So we leverage our social media for real-time data in that regard. Where our CRM services and our data integration there is going to become more helpful as well. As now I'll be able to see our call center and what our reps are handling in our call center, the issues and the things the questions and even just the types of customers in a much quicker and in a real-time scenario where that I can then talk to them. Some of the other things that are a little bit more manual for us is that for one of the big gaps for us is being able to track the in-store purchase. That's the golden egg for us. If anybody can figure that out for me, then there's a conversation to have, because we don't own our retail locations, and so there's a big gap in trying to get to that. But what I do have is I have in-store demonstrators, people that go on road shows, and they go in, and some of you guys have probably been there, and we have regular calls with those people, and I can get on the phone with them and I can ask them, what are the questions you're getting this week? What did you see? What are people asking about? What are the common complaints? And I can get real-time information. Now, getting that into our CRM is a totally different topic, but having that information and bringing that is how we've tried to bring real-time information to the forefront of what we're doing with our marketing. And then, of course, planning, right? Like our YouTube channel, we put people probably give us a little bit more credit than we're due, but we do put some planning and strategy into what blends we're doing. we have blends planned for the next Apple release. We have all of those different things that happen, and so we're planning those
Break
things.
the security, probably.
Yes, absolutely. As long as Apple brings out new products, then we've got some fun blends to do. And then there's others, right? But obviously, looking forward, I think, like I said, people give us a lot of credit for having timely messages, and some of that is just we planned ahead to know that this particular event was happening, and we were ready for it.
Yeah, we've been able, fortunately, to take some of the online attribution and provide dedicated phone numbers for each social or paid or organic search. All of those different medias, email, they all have different unique 800 numbers or toll-free numbers, not necessarily 800. But we've taken that information and been able to combine it with our phone information. And so when they reach a CSR and they take notes, or if they get to our claims department and there are notes about their claims and their policy, all of that is tied back to a channel, a marketing channel. And so we can see kind of which one is the most effective. Our underwriters will ultimately really love that when they get their hands on it, to say, are we getting more claims from people who come in from PPC or people who come in from organic search? So to be able to tie that information and that data back is really important.
Great. Also, a lot of you have talked about your first-party data. I'm just kind of wondering about any third-party data sources. Are there any of you bringing in other kinds of third-party data for matching, or it's really a lot of your first-party, your site, your call center?
We use third-party data a lot for targeting. So, a lot of it, one of the places I've seen that has been the most effective is credit card purchase behavior. So, people that are likely to make a purchase similar to what we're trying to drive, using those kind of profiles for targeting. We also run our customer databases against third-party databases to try and add more data on top of it, because a lot of times the first-party data that we're capturing is never going to fill that entire profile the way that third-party data can. So we've found a lot of benefit and a lot of success in using third-party data.
So credit card data, big databases like Axiom, Experian, sort of psychographic data, demographics, anything else?
I think from our experience, I think we've seen the use of third-party data go from being one of the top considerations to kind of slide down the list a little bit. I can't point exactly. Maybe I think people or marketers are starting to question what exactly is feeding into that data. I can say one use that some of our customers have found really useful is kind of in the realm of lookalike modeling. So if they have a first-party data, really good first-party data, it's like, if we just could find more people like that, then you could kind of use that seed set and kind of use third-party data to start seeing what's over-indexing against that group, and then that helps to scale that kind of lookalike model, and we've seen some good success there for our customers.
Yeah, that's great. I'll give a small plug for SIM now that you mentioned that. Data quality is that we have a white paper up on our website that we did about 6 months ago about what are the questions and guidelines when you're trying to assess the data quality for your third-party data providers. So it's called something like enriching media data. Quality is key to ROI. So,
actually, I'll add one more point that's pretty interesting. I know that some of our customers actually are contracting directly with third-party data vendors, so they are asking those tough questions, and they're actually building their own custom sort of segments in conjunction with the third-party companies, and having those segments syndicated directly into the data management platform to mix and match with their existing first-party. So it's like, hey, we know maybe we've got now a first-party segment that's way too big, so we want to winnow that down. I bring in and figure out where the intersection is with this third-party data, and we can test and target that.
yeah, cool. Anybody else? You're nodding your head.
Yeah, I would just kind of lean Personally, and at Blendtec, we fall into the category of third-party data is lower on the list, and a lot of that just comes down to just the confidence level in third-party data. Depending on who you're talking to, there's a lot of gray area, and there can be some really vague descriptions about what that third-party data, where it's coming from, how you're getting it, and those kind of things. So as we've got driven to our own in-house, data sets in our own warehouses, we rely more heavily on our own data. There's still some gaps there for sure, but yeah, that's third-party data is much further down on the list for us as a brand advertiser and me as a marketer. We've tested some vendors over the course of my own career at Blendtec, and none of them have really proven that. What they've had has been that as valuable as what they've sold. But so yeah, confidence is definitely declining with third-party
Yeah, I've
data.
even heard of some of them going to the MRC to have their segments accredited, the Media Rating Council, just because people don't know, what's an auto intender from Axiom, the same thing as an auto intender from Experian or whoever else. Also. Were you going to say something, Sharon? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm conscious of our time here. Ross, how am I doing on time? Do you want to should I open up for questions?
Yeah, you suppose you could. You got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, why don't we see if there's any questions, and then we can keep going if there aren't.
Oh,
That one.
there's one. Just remember to tell us who you are and where you work, please.
Hi, Lisa Anderson. I work at AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals. So in terms of integrity, privacy is key. So in terms of digital IDs, I'm not sure it's something that we can do. But I have a question for Scott. So you work with a lot of different companies. When you focus on 4 things that you want to find in your data, you usually find them, and they're usually pretty good. So I feel like when you focus on outcomes, you'll get what you want. So have you worked with anybody where you just let the data bubble up outcomes to drive, next steps instead of focusing on specific channels?
I'm not positive that I understand the question.
Yeah, what do you mean by data bubbling up?
So in terms of big data, if you're looking at all the data and, what happened with all the channels, and I just feel like if you have goals and you say, I expect the sales force to do the best, and I expect search to be the second one, and usually what you intend to be the outcomes are the outcomes. You can make the data
Right, like
say
setting
what you
hypotheses
want.
and then seeing. Yeah.
Right, so I'm wondering, how do you really just let the data show you what direction you need to go in, if anybody on the panel, if you had experience with that?
Yeah, I think the key to that for us, so I guess to answer the question, yes, we definitely have scenarios where that happens. I think the key for us is going to it with a hypothesis, but knowing that it's okay if that's wrong. We have an added challenge as an agency because we are oftentimes reporting back to a client, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and I think the natural tendency is to always be right. So that's something that we have to really focus on, is being very transparent and saying, this was our hypothesis going into this, but the data is saying something completely different. So one of the ways that we've gone about doing that is while we're planning, we try and set enough scenarios, and a testing plan is kind of one part of it, but as part of the overall planning process, we kind of think through what are the risks, what could go wrong, what if we're completely wrong about this and the data is, a totally different direction than what we're thinking it's going to be. Then we've got some scenarios in place for that and how we'll react and the different things that we can test. I'm not sure that I answered your question, but.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
I'll answer that from my own perspective briefly. I think from a media execution side, we often see advertisers obviously come in very kind of prescriptively with a lot of different ideas of exactly who their customer is. I want to reach women that are 25 to 54 that have demonstrated interest in this. And so what we like to do is say, okay, let's use that. Let's have one tactic be that concept. Then let's have another tactic that's more of an open kind of optimization model. And this is where the real-time data comes back in, where the real-time data can, if you have a strong online conversion metric in real time, then we can really start, instead of targeting coarser segments of grouping like users, you can really pinpoint individuals out there based on crazy algorithmic models of 100,000 different data type points. And that's where you start, when you look at the analytics afterwards and you look at those insights to see, oh my God, perhaps that open model did perform better, and now you can start seeing what that group looked like. And that's often when you see, oh my God, this popped, or visitation to this particular website popped. We never would have thought of that. Now, it didn't drive huge volumes, but it may have driven significant volumes. And if there's enough of those little data points, then those are learnings that you can use in the future. So oftentimes that open model is basically, I don't know what's going to work. Let's let the robots decide, and then you kind of bubble up the insights afterwards that try to define and give you insight to who those people were.
Bob Freddy with MediaPost. Excuse me. Have any of your IT teams tried to use Hadoop? And if so, have you seen any value from that tool for marketing?
Question about Hadoop.
No.
It's used a lot in really big, huge media data sets like, set-top box data and, I can tell you some companies afterwards who are working with it. But any other questions?
Yeah. Lori Ulanoff with White Wave Foods. A couple of questions for being able to connect your consumer experience across your CRM touch points, right? So you mentioned call centers. How are you guys able to track your customer relationships through data? Like, do you have a call center internally at Blendtec, for example, that you're connecting with your social listening and being able to customize those relationship experiences?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. We have in-house call center called customer service team that works within our CRM dashboard. Those experience, without going into too much detail, those interactions with phone and email and chat are all logged in our CRM. Our email addresses are then available for us to then utilize in other parts of the business to match up a social engagement, or to match up an actual sale, or to match up all those kind of things. So yeah, that's how we do it. And the email address is one of those hinge points for us. It is Microsoft, yeah, Microsoft CRM, Dynamics CRM.
And who's managing your community management on social? Is it another team?
No, so we have, so my team in digital we have a social media manager, content manager, and analytics, affiliates, display and paid advertising. Like, we have all of those. Our design, creative, all of those are under our marketing department. So they're all, we have an in-house team that manages all of that. So very tight-knit group of marketers that work together. And if we have questions for our customer service team, we walk over there because we're in the same building. They're up in Salt Lake. So.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We have an in-house, it's a vertically integrated solution between customer service, claims, marketing. We're all in the same building, we're all on the same floor. And as Coy said, if we have a question, we go over there. If there's something that's coming up in a review, for example, we can go over to claims and say, what happened in this situation that would make it different than any other situation. Or if there was a reason that customer service, whether it was through a chat or a call, had an interaction that was, especially successful, we want to know about it. We what made that work a little bit better than something else? Was it because of the source that they came in on? Was it because of who they talked to? All of that information is tracked internally within our what we call VOPS, vertical operation systems. So it's all the data is there. Unfortunately, it's a homegrown, so it's not repeatable anywhere else.
I was also wondering, have any of you partnered directly with any media companies and sort of matched your first party to first party, almost like a private exchange, I guess you could call it? Or have any of you had experience doing that? If you're not trusting some of the third quality data, but partnering with other people that have first party data and matching your data privacy compliant ways. Any experience with that, or is that a little out there?
We've contemplated it, but we haven't done anything. Yeah. We've worked with some vendors in the past that have their own first-party data that we've done some things with. But as far as like mashing up those, we haven't done anything. But we've talked about it, but haven't engaged in anything yet.
From a privacy perspective, we're really cognizant about our B2C data. On the B2B side, it's a little bit easier, especially with events and things like that. A lot of times you can match up to an event list to see who you've talked to, who you want to talk to, things like that.
Yeah, I'd say the closest for us is just using lookalikes. And we do that with a lot of different media vendors and partners. So yeah, I mean, it's never creating, an entirely new data set, but a lot of times we'll use our existing audiences or those that are most likely to convert to create lookalike audiences.
Great.
All right, great. Well, we're out of time, but thank you, Jane. Thank you, panel. Give them a hand. We're gonna take a little break, actually, before our next presentation. We're going to take about a 10-15 minute break.